Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. Following a quorum of several hundred people, Chief Secretary Fali Augustine accepted the leadership role among 5 people in facilitating the formation of a new political party. The meeting took place at the Shore Park complex, where many former members of the PDP gathered to discuss the way forward. Augustine said that the new party will not be a replica of any other party which has existed in Tobago. Instead, it will solely develop its identity and constitution based on a democratic process. The party name and symbol will be voted on at a subsequent meeting on April 17th. Meanwhile, political leader of the Unity of the People, Nkosi Phillips, called on the media to boycott coverage of the Buku goat and crab races. A notice went out to the media informing them that photographers must pay an accreditation fee of $1,500, while videographers must pay $6,500. According to Phillips, the Buku Village Council always had a policy of free access to the media for coverage of Tobago's most popular event. Further, Phillips called on the THA to withhold funding from the goat and crab races until the Buku Village Council can account for how previous subventions were spent. And nationally, St. Augustine MP Khadija Amin called on the government to address the increase in cases of school violence. She added that there's an upsurge in school dropouts, which is also raising concerns. According to Amin, the government must be held accountable for the recent developments because they have the responsibility to ensure schools are safe environments for students to learn and grow, including implementing policies and practices that promote a culture of non-violence and respect. She said the government failed to provide enough guidance officers and social workers in schools while teachers are underpaid. And that was the news in 90 seconds. Well, viewers, we have so much happening within our space. We had that launch of, the formation, or the beginnings of the formation of a new political party, which happened yesterday. And it's certainly interesting to see where this is going to take us. We are looking forward. I mean, the Chief Secretary, Fali Augustine, said that it's going to be different. It's not going to look like any other party within the space that has ever existed, which means that it's going to, there's going to be some difference to it. They say that they're going to be learning from the mistakes of the past because we've seen a lot of parties come and go. However, this one is supposed to be different. What was interesting was to see that the turnout that they received, it seemed as though many people were interested in being there. So quite a lot happening. Viewers, we're supposed to have online with us the president of TTUTA, Mr. Martin Lumpkin, to also discuss some issues happening within our education system. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. How are you? It's always a pleasure to be on your program.
Yes, and certainly, we've had a lot of issues popping up within our education system. It seems as though cases of school violence continues to be on the rise. We're seeing more and more reports of it, and there's a lot of fingers being pointed as to who is responsible or who should be the ones to rein it in. So, as the president of TTUTA, what is TTUTA's position on school violence?
So, firstly, I want to point out that school violence and is not a new topic. It is not a new issue that faces the schools throughout Trinidad, more so in Trinidad than in Tobago,
Mhm.
and seem to be reactive. Every time an issue pops up in a school, we go in, we highlight it. And I also want to point out, since the proliferation of number of videos on social media, that has also increased the awareness as well too, because we're seeing a lot of videos going around in social media involving school children, and we also are very concerned the number of female students being involved. In the past, it used to be the male students acting out and getting into these incidents. However, we're seeing more recently the female students acting out. And so it's not a new issue.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have to stop the blame game and we have to put aside party politics. Tutor is not about party politics and blaming which government, who didn't do what, who's supposed to do what. Let us all come together because it affects each and every one of us. Crime on the whole affects each and every one of us. And we have to have these serious conversations, ask the difficult questions, and then proceed in implementing measures from all angles, not only from the Ministry of Education, not only from national security, but from civil society, faith-based groups. We have to come together because if we throw our hands up in the air, we are going to lose a generation and we're going to lose our nation, our beautiful nation on a whole.
Certainly. Now, you pointed out something that's quite interesting, that there's a rise in female students engaging in acts of violence within the schools. Do you have any indication or any sort of reasons as to why we're seeing that increase among girls?
We don't have any facts or any statistics or even any research. And that's one of the challenges we have in our country, actually doing
Mm.
local research, primary research, and getting into it. However, in the past, we would have been focusing on our male students and interventions and programs to help them. And to a point, we have been neglecting our female students as well too because we feel that the female students are a bit more passive and so but they have their issues that they face as well. And let's be real, coming out of the pandemic, where the lockdown as such, where we did not have interventions when the students came, well, meaningful, let me say meaningful, because there were some level of interventions. However, it was not sufficient to deal with the 2+ years that these children were locked down and
Mm.
at home and not able to socialize properly. And so we have not had that meaningful conversation and intervention. Now, we speak about Student Support Services Division, which is, to me, a brilliant aspect of the education system. And they are understaffed, under-resourced. However, we have what we call guidance counselors, and we are utilizing some of them who are not fully certified or qualified to actually do psychosocial intervention. And so the system needs professionals like that,
Mm-hmm.
child psychologists, and so to really get to the root of some of the problems that our children are facing. Let's face it, when I was growing up, when you were growing up, the issues that we faced is quite different to what they are facing
Certainly.
now,
Certainly.
right? And yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I
sorry.
mean, I was going to add, we have the complication of the pandemic, and I know that we're still in the early stages of coming out of the pandemic, but do we know what are the major issues that our children are being faced with? What are the implications of the pandemic on the mentality of our students? Because I mean, 2 years, it's quite a long time in a child's life, and it does leave an impact.
Yes, it does. And unfortunately, again, I'm pointing out that we have not done the adequate research, and we are, as adults, we are guessing and we are taking for granted what these some of these children are going through. However, we really sat down with these children, had the conversation, asked them, what is going on, how do you feel? We always, in our end as adults, take for granted. We really do not actually, well, some of the cases. I don't want to be too broad in terms of that because we have instances where we have schools and educators would do the necessary counseling and interventions and deep, questioning. But there are some that we take for granted. And it's something that, needs to be done as well. We need to listen to our students, listen to our young people, and not always try to give them the solutions. Get it out of them. What do they need? what do they require. And I also have to say some of them do not have the type of support at home in the community that others have as well too. And the school, the community, the NGOs, the other agencies need to bridge that gap between what is being lost at the home and what society is giving them,
Mm.
because we always point out that the school is a microcosm, it's a reflection of what takes place in the society. The schools and faith-based organizations are supposed to be sanctity, and we are seeing that they are being breached right now. Last week, just before the SCA at Shogunas, the Siram Memorial Hindu School, a bandit breached the security just before the SCA, the night before, because they were doing some repairs. And so you're seeing persons and individuals breaking into schools because they feel that they can get financial gain.
Mm.
But what about the respect for these institutions? And the question has to be asked, are we really fulfilling the needs of these children in these institutions? Do they really see the the necessity and the respect for these organizations, such that they will not breach the sanctity of these institutions?
Certainly.
And yeah.
Yes, I was also going to ask, do you think that the Ministry of Education is serious about ensuring that guidance counselors, social workers, enough of them are present at the schools to support the work of teachers? Because a lot of times teachers are the ones that are able to pick up on some of these issues with the students, but with the workload that teachers have to face, it is sometimes difficult to extend that assistance, and they need the people like the social workers and the guidance counselors who have more knowledge and more skills with those things are concerned to help support these teachers. So is the Ministry of Education serious?
I would say they are not as serious as they should be. They are trying, yes, I will give them that. And that is because of the resources, and they always lament about the financial resources that they have.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to say generally, the government can find the finances for things that they deem to be important. We are saying this is education, and the interventions necessary in education is serious enough for the government to find the financial resources in order to have the necessary systems in place. And I want to also point out, you spoke about the workload of our teachers. Most of our teachers are not even qualified to diagnose and to
Mm.
give the necessary interventions. And so we cannot administer any sort of intervention, or even come up with a diagnosis. We need professionals to do that, especially when you're dealing with the younger minds, impressionable minds. You need to have that focused intervention. And so again, I'm saying the ministry can be more serious. They can find the funds, because this is necessary, and this will alleviate in the future from the other aspects of, as the children go up the education ladder. It will assist, and so once you get these solutions and intervene in time, then you're preventing. So the saying we had, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, will apply in this case.
Certainly. And when it comes also to, the payment for teachers, I mean, the teachers' salaries, we know that that was a concern. That whole issue about, what the increase should be and the negotiations with the CPO. What's the update on that?
So we are in the process of providing evidence and arguments to the special tribunal. So just to remind the public
Mm-hmm.
that after a few months of meeting with the chief personnel officer, the Minister of Finance would have referred our salary negotiations to the special tribunal of the industrial court. Was around October, November last year. And so we have been liaising with our two attorneys and a public sector economist in preparing evidence and arguments. I want
Mm.
to point out our teachers are lamenting. They are feeling it in their pockets when
Yes.
they go to groceries. We have not had any salary increase since 2014. And so teachers are living on 2014 salary, trying
Mm.
to struggle through 2023 cost of living rises. And we have to point out, and we are always adamant and strong about this, teachers are not just an ordinary group of professionals. We contribute highly, actually the most, to national development and to human resource capacity building. And you have to you have to treat teachers as they deserve it. Yes,
Mhm.
we have one or two bad mangoes, eggs in the basket, but you cannot broad-basely lament and judge teachers on that. The majority of teachers, the majority of teachers go beyond the call of duty. They have the best interests of their children at heart. And in order for us to perform properly, we need to be remunerated properly in order for us to survive.
Mhm.
And I must point out, teachers dip into their pockets to help their students, to help their
Yes.
schools, buy resources, and so. How are you expecting them now to have that psychological peace of mind in order to continue? Yes, they have been doing it, but it is becoming increasingly difficult. And at some point in time, it's going to break them. They are humans like everybody else, and they have families to look after as well too. And so it was unfortunate that we are in this place. However, I want to assure all of our members, all of our teachers, that tutor is doing its utmost best in order to get um, um, a good result at the industrial court. We are not negotiating again. We are before the special tribunal of the industrial court, where evidence and arguments have to be presented and cases being built. And so we are working on that. We cannot, and I must point out, we cannot say how the court will rule, but we are going to do our utmost best because teachers deserve the best.
Are you hopeful that there would be a ruling somewhat in your favor?
I am always hopeful. I am almost always optimistic in getting the best for teachers. However, I have to say again, we don't know how the judges in the
Mm-hmm.
special tribunal will rule. We are going to be putting our best foot forward, putting the best arguments based on the economy and what the Minister of Finance himself has been saying, that the economy is growing. And so we are going to present a case where there can be payment in terms of what we are presenting based, and I have to say, based on the external labor market survey, not percentage increase just across the board, but based on the external labor market, what the market is saying that the teachers are supposed to be paid. And we are not calling for 100% closure. We are mindful of the economic situation. However, we are saying let us be fair, let us be equitable in terms of distribution, um, in terms of what we deserve and what we contribute to society. Let me please permit me. In the 80s and 90s, we were going through similar situations, and what we found was that teachers were migrating. They were leaving their jobs in Trinidad to go to the North America because they were attracting our teachers to come up there. We have a similar situation here. The North America, they need teachers. Our economic situation is such that we have not been paid an increase since 2014. Are we mindful that that can take place once again? Are we assured that our teachers would not look for greener pastures and we will have what we call a brain drain in Trinidad and Tobago and have to rebuild what the government invested in? Because they invested in the Teachers College years ago, they invested with GATE for persons to do their undergraduate and to come into the teaching system. Are they willing now to lose all of that because sorry, teachers have to seek what is in their best interest at some point in time, and they maybe, I'm not saying that it will happen, but they may be attracted to other places outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much, Mr. Lumpkin, for being able to speak with us and give us your perspective on what's been going on as the president of TUTA, because, of course, education is an extremely important part that deserves some serious attention.
Thank you very much, and it's always a pleasure to be on your program. All the
All right,
best.
great. Thank you so much. Well, viewers, we got a lot more coming up for you on the program, so please don't go anywhere because we'll be back right after this.